Hello, third grade, and happy Tuesday. So, we've been talking about just going through each chapter and reviewing it real quick so you guys are ready and prepared for fourth grade. We've talked about adding and subtracting, we've talked about rounding, we've talked about using graphs and charts and all those things. We've talked about multiplication, we've talked about division. So, now it's time to talk about fractions. So, let's not forget what we learned about fractions, okay? So, let's go over some vocabulary when it comes to fractions. When you were in second grade, you were told you can make equal parts, right? If it's not equal, it's not a fraction. So each of our parts needs to be equal size, okay? Now, certain pieces are called a certain thing, and when you talk about fractions. So for example, if you split a cookie into two equal pieces, we know those are called halves. Half or halves. Halves if it's plural, half if it's singular. So 1/2 would be one piece if you split it into two equal pieces. Now, do you remember what thirds are? You should know that thirds are 3 equal pieces. Fourths are 4 equal pieces. Sixths are 6 equal pieces. And eighths are 8 equal pieces, right? So we know what they're called, but then we need to learn how to write a fraction, okay? So there's 2 different numbers in a fraction. There's a top number and there's a bottom number, okay? So remember, that top number is called a numerator. Numerator is the top part, and the bottom part is called the denominator, okay? So the numerator, just in review, tells you how many pieces we're working with, how many pieces you're told to count. So if you look at this lovely square that I drew, that I have in 8 equal parts, you would say I have 2 shaded parts, right? Sometimes the question's going to ask you how much is left, how much is used, how much is blue, how much is green, right? So those are the types of things that our book was teaching us. So I don't want to always think that the top number is going to be how much I have there total. The top number is what the question is asking you to count, okay? That's really important. What are we counting in this situation? For the most part, it's going to ask for the shaded part of a figure, okay? But in fourth grade, I just want you to remember that top number tells me what I am counting, okay? So then we talk about the denominator. And the denominator is really important for a fraction because that's telling you how many total pieces are in the whole. Now, that could mean that there are 8 pieces of pizza, right? And this fraction tells me how many pieces are, you can't really see them, but they're little fish, little anchovy pizzas, right? So 2/8 of my pizza, meaning 2 pieces that are out of 8 equal pieces are anchovy pizza, okay? So we can split up a shape into different sizes. We can also split a number line, right? So we have this number line, and you can see that we have the number 0 over here, and we have the number 1 over here. Because sometimes a fraction is a part of a whole, right? So we have 1 of something that we split into equal pieces, okay? So I have A right here, and I need to figure out what fraction is that. So it kind of gives me a little bit of hints. It says that this is 0/4, and this is 4/4. Do you remember that when a number is on the top is 4 and on the bottom is 4? Do you know that that's a whole? That means that you've eaten 4/4, which is a whole pizza, right? 4/4 of a sandwich. You ate the whole thing. So if any time a number is on the same on the top as the bottom, it's a whole number, like 8/8, 2/2, 3/3, right? Don't forget that. So we need to figure out what A would be. Since this number line is split into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces, we're using fourths. So our first line, we go from 0/4 to 1/4. If you're thinking 1/4, great job. So that first piece is 1/4. Then we're getting kind of into the middle, or also known as 2/4. Do you remember those equivalent fractions, those equal fractions? Don't forget. And then finally, I'm at the 1/2 piece out of 4, which is what fraction? 3/4. So A would be the fraction 3/4. Easy enough, right? I'll review. Now finally, your assignment's going to ask you to find a fraction of a bunch of things, right? So let's say that I have 6 apples. I have 6 apples and I'm splitting them in half. Some for me, half for my husband. We know that a half is 2 equal parts. So when you're told to find a fraction of a whole number, it's asking you to make 2 equal groups, right? So group 1, group 2. This would be half and this would be the other half because a half is 2 equal pieces. So if I'm splitting 6 in half, I'm sharing it amongst 2 equal groups. So we're going to share just like we learned in the last lesson for division. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm saying is half of 6 is 3. Does that sound right? Yes, because if you split 6 in half, it would be 3 and 3. 2 pieces make 6. Now, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult, okay? Half's easy. We know how to split things in half. But what about if we asked to find a 4th of 12? What does a 4th mean? A 4th means I have 4 equal pieces, 4 equal groups, right? That's what a 4th is. I've made 4 different things. So if I split something up, I just need to make sure that I have a 4th of it, not a half, not an 1/8, a 4th. So I need 4 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 equal groups. So I have 12. I have this group of things. I have 12 goldfish that I've got to put into 4 tanks, right? I just want to know what 1/4 of 12 is. So I've got to share it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So what is 1/4 of 12? 1/4 is 3. 1/4 of 12 is 3. 1/2 of 6 is 3. So do you see how you can also split whole numbers into fractions, right? We can have half the class. Doesn't mean I'm splitting all the kids in half, right? Silly. No. It just means I need to find half of the number that I'm using. Or if I need 1/3 of the class, I need to find 3 equal groups, just like if I was doing division. So that's why we do fraction review right after division, because you have your mindset in the thought of, I need to split equally. Whether it's one whole thing being split, like a cookie, or a group of things that need to be split into equal pieces, such as halves, thirds, fourths, sixths, and eighths. All right? Quick review. Shouldn't be too difficult. Remember, use all of your tools that are on the side of your assignment, right? They all like show up right here, okay? Make sure that if you're having any difficulties to use those tools and to review this video and the division video, and it would be helpful for you. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. See ya. Bye.